and this time it is secondary schools where the Lagos State government on Friday ordered the indefinite closure of Dowen College, Lekki, following the investigation into the death of Sylvester Oromoni, a student of the school. This was contained in a statement signed by the Assistant Director, Public Affairs of Lagos State Ministry of Education, Kenio Lawal. The Commissioner for Education, Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo, announced the closure after a meeting with the school management and staff. The Commissioner called for calm, saying no effort to be spared in getting to the roots of the incident. The death of the 12-year-old student of the college, Oromoni Jr., had sparked various reactions from celebrities and Nigerians alike. Reports had emerged that Oromoni was bullied and beaten by fellow students. The supposed injuries from the beating led to his death. And of course, the Delta State government has also come into the discussions, saying they're expressing commitment to an investigation to the death of this, college. Now, for a while, a lot of focus has been on tertiary institutions, talking about funding them more, talking about looking at the curriculum, talking about the incessant strike actions by Lagos State Union. And we seem to have taken our eyes off secondary school. We know for a while, private secondary schools became like a taste, as it were, not general, but a taste of what real education looks like. I mean, after the government secondary school became like more like an abandoned project, as it were. And it's not very common to hear these kind of things in the private secondary school. Of course, it is common in secondary school. We know before now, secondary schools became like an introduction into cultism, especially government, state government, more specifically. And then it spilled into universities where mid-90s to early 20s, cultism in tertiary institutions were like all-time high. Then we didn't have much of these private schools that we have now. Of course, private schools came on, and it was like, okay, a departure from the bad educational background we get from secondary school, and so how did it get to this level? How did it get to that where private schools now becoming this den of cultism, introduction to cultism, as I would like to call it? Let's start from you.
I was a product of boarding school. I lived in dormitory. Yes, it's not something strange to me. And then, but then it was in public school and not private school. And there are so many procedures put in place to checkmate all these things. And then there was this a kind of familiarity between students and the host, hall masters. That we constantly interact with them. And they have a kind of a teacher, also a teacher in the school then, that you attach to outside the hall master, that you also talk to. In the event you have any issue, not just your parents until when they come, you interact with this teacher whom your parents will show you to. And there are also seniors in school also, because when I was in SS3, I was also a kind of supervising some junior students, that their parents also got to me and introduced to me, said, Joe, take care of this, my kids, whatever they need, they should come to you. So I was also protecting them. So we have all these measures put in place to monitor excesses of some untrained kids, because they are there. The society doesn't exist in vacuum. Some of the parents today were one-time caught people in school. You mentioned what transpired in the 90s and in the early 20s. Most of them are parents now. And they have what they manifested or exhibited during their own time. They won't see it as something bad when their kids begin to manifest the same kind of devilish threats. For them, they are being smart, they are being big, they are being bold, and they are being daring. So they don't see it as something wrong. But to average student that came from a good home, a well-nurtured home, that see those vices as something that should not be associated with. He will also always be looked up as a timid person, a Jonesy, whatever. And then these other people that were exposed to that kind of rough life will be taking advantage of the well-groomed child. So, but now in private schools, I was asking them, like, if they have all these mechanisms in place, especially a very well-coordinated reporting system, and they also will have inspections, school authorities, inspectors, after our classes, because we go to class with day students, we call them day ghosts there, who go to class with day students. After the classes, we come back to dormitory. Within that period till senior license or junior license, they still come to inspect our activities there. Time of junior license to inspect them, senior license to also inspect them. You know, when there are attitudes that might not be like in line with a civilized way of life, you report. And school authority will come and pick the child up. If it grows beyond the capacity of the school, they will allow the parent of that child. They might even expel. You know, we have expulsion, we have suspensions, all of these things. But now in private schools, I don't want to, like it's something that might be very, very ridiculous. They are looking for people. Their priority is making money. They target money, they run at a cost.
Not the welfare of
yes, not the welfare of the children, of the students, and not basically the kind of morality of the students. They pay teachers. They pay for, they're in competition. They have so many other schools they are competing with. They basically future on taking people for picnics and buying laptops and all this thing for you to know that their own school is doing well. Look at the level of packages they have for their students. I'll be like, a person of 3 years, you're already putting computer, 1 year, you're computer. I said, when would that person develop? How would that person also grow his own natural wisdom? But they want to do all this. So people will be like, this school is like ahead of others. Let me send my kids there. But they don't have all these mechanisms in place. It has been there. Molestation has been there. In my own time, we witnessed it. I was telling my wife how I was reporting. When I witnessed one, I went and reported because I knew I would be protected. And school took action immediately and then called someone, the parent of that person. Now, these are the things that have to be in place. How many times do they check these people? How many times do they enter their dormitory? Who do they have as, even the parents, when you send your child to school, who did you attach that person to? There must be a person that your child will be communicating.
A guardian.
Yeah, a guardian outside the school authority. And then how periodically do you visit them in school? Do you abandon your child in school because you see them as disturbing you in the house, disturbing your career, disturbing your peace, so they'll be there for like many months before you go there? These things are things that we should look into, because we believe that private schools are like having private ownership. We don't have a well systemic way of a kind of monitoring them, supervising their activities, and pretending over their conduct. Because of that, we don't do this. So what my opinion now should be like, government should also extend all the mechanisms adopted in most of the government public schools to private schools. Not just about carrying them in big cars, expensive vehicles, and well-air-conditioned places, also their conducts.
Okay. Unfortunately, you've taken all of the time.
No. Yeah, said the key things.
One sentence, please.
Yeah. What I would have to say is that, like he has rightly mentioned, you see, this monetization of education cannot lead to progress. Monetization in the sense that you pay millions on your children. And having paid millions on those children, you now feel that you are no longer responsible for any of the actions. Look, I recall that in one of these big schools, the son of a Lagos State, one time, very, very big person, he brought a pistol to school. His father's pistol to school. But I was there because I was close to the principal. That woman suspended that boy. This big man came around. She insisted that the boy remain suspended. You understand? Because that woman has her own class. She was brought from England to come and head this school. Now, but these days, how many of these principals in these schools we dare to suspend? You understand? The child of a very big man. They won't do it because they will lose money.
Okay.
So lose patronage.
Finally, let's go to Barrister Kingsley Chairman Iyaba. Your take on it quickly as we round up.
I can only commiserate with the family of Master Sylvester and pray God to grant him repose. You know, his death is unfortunate, it is avoidable, It is a failure of institution, it is a failure of government, it's a failure of society at large. And may God grant him repose. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that beautiful note. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Barrister Kingsley Chime talked to us from Yaba. Thank you so much. And of course, Barristers Joe Wokedi and Ayo Osho, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.
So join us again next week, Sunday, on Galactic Television. The program Democracy and the Rule of Law 1 to 2. I'm Solomon. Often. Good afternoon.